Yeah,
we were talking before about being transactional, and your industry's the same as mine in that sense.
Yeah, I think every industry needs it. Every company needs some form of systems to run their marketing ecosystem, because it's just beyond the capability of a human. Now, it's got to the point whereby there's certain things that computers can do in terms of tracking and knowing when and where to pop up for people that can't be replicated by a human. So estate agents need it, mortgage advisors need it, and everybody needs it really, because it's just the way business works in today's age.
And when you say marketing automation for the layman, because I was a layman 3 years ago, what does that actually mean to you, and how would you explain it to others?
So most people look at their marketing in terms of some sort of a big checklist.
Yeah.
They might think to themselves, right, I should be doing email marketing, and I've got a platform to do it, so I can tick that off the list.
Yeah.
And I've been told I should be putting stuff on LinkedIn, so I can tick that off the list. And they've got this kind of list of things whereby they can say, well, we're ticking all the boxes, so we should be okay.
Yeah.
The problem with that is a couple of things. The first is that it gets out of control pretty quick. So staying on top of it becomes a massive problem. And that in itself creates a big problem with your marketing, because part of the idea of people buying from you is that people will only buy from companies that they know, like and trust.
Yep.
And the trust aspect is created through the consistency. So if I go onto a company's blog page and they've maybe got a blog that they did last week, and then the one before that is from about 8 months ago, my brain tells me I'm not really sure this company's going to show up.
Yep.
If you go on to a company like Nike, I don't even know if Nike has a blog, but if you go onto Nike's website and they've got a blog, I can pretty much guarantee you it just runs like clockwork.
Yeah.
So
consistent, same time, same place. Yeah,
exactly. So marketing automation is based around the idea of there being a bit more of a strategy in your company. What marketing is it that we need to do? Do we need to do email marketing? Do we need to do social? How often do we want this stuff posted?
Yeah.
And then the systems will carry out those tasks for you.
Yeah.
While you can concentrate on the human side of your business.
Yeah.
You might still have to create content.
Yeah.
I mean, you could outsource that as well. But ultimately, the systems are going to put the content out there for you at the right time, in the right place. And then if you connect that up with tracking systems, then you can make sure that the right content lands in front of the right people at the right time without there being any manual involvement in it whatsoever.
That's the gold dust right there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that if you explain it to companies, they say, a lot of people would say like, "Oh God, I need that."
Yeah. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, but as we were talking about earlier, you can explain to somebody how to get a six-pack. Very few people can actually go through the pain of doing it. Doing marketing automation itself, again, is just ticking off a box.
Yeah.
The strategy behind it is actually building a data-driven company, which takes years to do.
Yeah.
So where it falls down for a lot of people is that they might invest money into the idea of doing marketing automation.
Yeah.
And then after a month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe even 6 months, they're not seeing any real difference in the revenue of the business.
Yeah.
And so they're back in that boat where they're looking at what revenue could they cut. And so that being something that's not cheap, they may well cut that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a vicious circle, really, in the sense that some people ask, "Well, when will I see a return on investment?" And it's a little bit like asking, "When will you see a return on investment from having phones or pens or paper?" It's like it's just a way of doing business.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it, you will disappear at some point, because the companies that are doing it are building these data walls around their company, and there's no quick way of getting to the stage where you've got 3 or 4 years worth of data around your company.
Yeah.
So if you do it once you see that company, it's making an impact for them now.
Yeah.
Maybe they're 3 or 4 years down the line, and you think, we should do it.
Yeah.
You'll always be 3 or 4 years behind them.
Yeah.
When you get to 4 years, they'll be at 8.
Yeah.
You can't catch. So at the moment, the switched on companies they're investing in building data driven companies, perhaps even you could argue a little bit blindly, don't actually know where that leads to, but they can be pretty certain that not building a data-driven company leads to extinction.
Yeah. And it's that thing of acquiring a lead is effectively the most expensive part of actually getting people into your business, isn't it? So what we were talking about earlier is once that lead comes in, the automation part is being able to say they're at this stage of the buying cycle, they've absorbed this content, so we need to show them this further content. And as you said, it's taking them from 1 to 10 effectively, and 10 kind of being the buying point, and just nurturing them through that process and that sequence, but not only via email, but based on an ad that they've seen on Facebook, and taking care of all of that, isn't it? Yeah, almost like a spider's web in a way.
It's exactly like a spider's web in the sense that for a lot of estate agents that I talk to, and I'm sure it must be the same for mortgage advisors and as I say, pretty much every business out there, there's this idea that you've got three types of people that sort of engage with your company. You've got those that turn into clients, you've got those that use competitors, and you've got time wasters. And actually the statistics show that the most valuable of those three are the time wasters, because they're not really time wasters. The way I kind of explain it to a lot of my estate agents is no one on a Saturday afternoon thinks to themselves, I don't know what we should do today. Should we go cinema, or should we get 3 estate agents around our house? You know what I mean? Like, it's
cinema
not
all day.
It's not a fun experience, right? So they are not doing it on purpose. They're not sitting there thinking like, let's waste these people's time. And a lot of my estate agents will have used companies in the past that have maybe brought them in loads of leads, and they might come to us and say, we've used companies that have brought us in loads of leads, but they're all useless. And I'm kind of saying like, no leads are useless. They're just not ready to buy yet. But the principle of the idea of how you build a data-driven company is not just to target the active market. If you only target the active market with what you're doing, your revenue will always stay at that level. So, you start your business and there's an uplift in revenue because you're starting from zero. And then it goes good and better and better and better. And at some point you reach this kind of plateau where you're probably not quite wealthy enough, but you're way above the idea that you're going to go out of business. And you bounce around this kind of level, and you're sort of dictated to by market forces. Is the market good? Is the market bad? Good months, bad months. And that's where you stay, because you're only working on the active market. So there's only a finite amount of people at any one time that will use you. Some people will use the competitors, and some people will be time wasters.
It's like 3%, I think, isn't it? It's actually ready to buy now, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
Right? So, but the principle of content marketing and marketing automation is the idea that companies like Apple, Google, Facebook and Amazon, what they do is they don't target the active market. They look at the dormant market. So stuff that we've spoken about before, they look at something called 7-11-4. So you need to spend 7 hours with someone, have 11 touch points, or meet them in 4 different locations. It moves you into the emotional side of someone's brain, just gives you that kind of gut feeling of, I don't know why, I just feel like I should be using this broker, this service, this company. So then
like and trust again.
No like and trust. So then the question is, how do you 7-11-4 people before they hit the active market? And that's where you have to totally rethink about the way you look at time wasters. How do we 7-11-4 the time wasters so that when they do come to the active market, they just walk straight to us? And that's where content marketing comes in. So a lot of companies understand they should be putting good content out there. They've either researched or learnt about content marketing, and they understand the principle that if you can give someone some useful content, then they'll like you, and there's more chance they'll use you. But if you don't have an ecosystem behind it, a tracking system, then it becomes a lot of hard work without much reward. So the principle of how companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon and Apple do it is they will build funnels of content based around what would be useful content for somebody if they were, say, 5 years away from using our product. What would be useful content if they were 4 years away, 3, 2, 1, 6 months, and they're looking now. And then their tracking systems will look at what pieces of content has someone looked at, so what should I next be serving them up? If someone, for instance, has Googled Samsung versus Apple, right? Now, Samsung and Apple are both aware that content needs to be created. whichever one the person ends up buying will just be whichever company does a better job of getting them into their ecosystem. So they're creating content, they're putting it out through PR, they're putting it out on social, they're putting it out on email, the tracking systems are looking, this person's looked at this piece of content, lo and behold, before you know it, now they're seeing an ad that says, oh, you can get a test drive of an iPhone, for 6 months for free, or whatever it is. They know what needs to come next to push the person along, and that's all happening while their staff are doing the human side of the business. So mortgage brokers, estate agents and small businesses, they're not set up to do that manually. It's impossible. But the systems can do it for you. You just have to buy into the idea that there's nothing that's going to happen that's going to convince someone who wasn't going to buy a house tomorrow to suddenly buy a house tomorrow. It just means that over the years your life's going to become a bit easier.
And it all comes back to that whole point. I preach constantly about relationship building. That's all you're doing, is you're building that relationship over time, kind of almost like planting a seed and watching it grow over that period of time, with a view that eventually at the end of it you'll have a tree and you'll have a client and they'll buy from you, as you say, you 7-Eleven for them, and you become the preferred choice because they know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I did a presentation recently at a big event for estate agents, and just before I got up, someone was up talking about how they'd been going to breakfast networking clubs and the success that they'd been having from it.
Right. Okay.
And they were asking the people in the room if anyone else does it, and no one was really doing it, so that they were sort of encouraging that people get involved in this. And then when I got up to talk, I was saying, like, it's a great segue because breakfast networking clubs are a great idea. But there's also this thing called Facebook that's a breakfast networking club with 2.7 billion people at it. When people ask, well, what am I supposed to put on Facebook? What should we put up? Should we just post properties? Or, I'm sort of saying, well, just think you were at a breakfast networking club. You probably wouldn't walk in with a sandwich board of properties going, who wants to buy one of these? Do you know what I mean? Like, there might be a place for it. If you've got funnels set up and someone's done X, Y, and Z, maybe they might start seeing properties. But as an introduction, you probably wouldn't walk in doing that. You'd probably walk in and talk about something a bit more useful, like, we actually get involved in helping the community do this. That'd probably be your opening piece at a breakfast networking meeting, wouldn't it? So, as you say, like, the clue is in the name, social, isn't it? Social network.